Thanks, Connie, for joining us in studio this morning.
Yes.
So, an urgent meeting of August 27. That particular meeting put the brakes on the court application to try and place SAA on business rescue. And that, of course, was to allow for a document to be finalized that would help turn around SAA. Talk to us about the origins of this document. Where does this document come from?
It actually starts way back in 2018. So I think it's common cause that South African Airways has been financially distressed for almost a decade now. And for us as a trade union, we're very worried because we've seen what happens with especially employees eventually not getting paid, getting short paid when one of these businesses do fail.
Yeah.
So we then started in 2018 with a business rescue application to say that under the Companies Act, SAA is trading recklessly, it's insolvent, and it's not a going concern. And then we facilitated this. Mr. Girana, the then CEO, met with us and made certain commitments, and we kept him to that for the first 3 to 6 months. And then with his resignation, we said, but then we have no other option. Then we need to ensure for our members, for the tax base in South Africa, that this company, SAA, is actually trading solvently and not trading recklessly. And we then started facilitating the process again, and then eventually Minister Gordhan intervened and said, but he's willing to meet with us and let's see if we can't find one another outside of a courtroom. And that's the process that's ongoing now, is we're basically in thrashing out an agreement or a memorandum of understanding or something along those lines that would see what we want is, well, we want action. We're done having every single year seeing SAA posting a 5 or 6 billion rand loss and then having nothing to do.
And asking for bailouts.
And asking for bailouts.
Let me ask you this question. That document, is it possible that it is that turnaround strategy that was developed by Vuyani Jahana before he resigned?
Well, the turnaround strategy for SAA will most likely look a lot like the 2013 LTTS, the long-term turnaround strategy, because it's an airline and there are certain things that need to be done. The problem that we have is these things have not been done since 2013. There's been no implementation of a turnaround strategy, and that's where our frustration, as firstly as trade union, but as taxpayers come in, is when SAA posts a 5 billion rand loss. That's not the government taking the loss, that's taxpayers paying 5 billion rand in a loss for SAA. So what we want is, we want action. We want this turnaround strategy to be implemented, and we're in talks at the moment to basically get to a place where we can say we're happy and we're comfortable that this turnaround strategy will be implemented and that the taxpayer will stop carrying the can, and that eventually we will be able to sell this airline or a stake of it to a strategic equity partner and get it profitable again. From the minister's side, they don't want to go to court because we're not litigious in nature. We would, if we can find one another outside of a courtroom, that's better, rather than have this adversarial court proceedings. So we're open to agreement and we're open to negotiations, but if we fall, let's say if we get stuck here, then we still keep the options open to say, but okay, we'll do whatever it takes to get this profitable.
The minister has asked you, and quote unquote, from that City Press article I was reading the story from, he halted the process because he said he wanted to have an inclusive process that involves other unions that are organizing within SAA. But there's a history of differing between Solidarity and unions that represent majority black workers. My question to you simply is there a point to stalling this process given the history of disagreement anyway between Solidarity and fellow unions?
All right, so the disagreement is more on ideology than on race. We're a Christian democratic union, whereas most unions are socialist. So we believe that the company needs to be profitable in order for the workers to actually have job security. Regarding you would like an inclusive process, but this will not be the determining factor if other unions join us or not. But we have been in negotiations or discussions with several other unions, and everyone has, it's a common cause, and everyone agrees that SAA is in deep financial trouble. And that means we're looking, as all trade unions now, how can we save our members' jobs? And secondly, how can we save tax money here? Because this is part of a bigger campaign regarding tax protest and legal tax protest, whereas South African taxpayers, we're just fed up. We're fed up with the amount of tax that has gone down bottomless pits into the pockets of fat cats. And that means we've done it with the NEL now. We've forced them to actually pay their workers' salaries. We're implementing steps against Eskom's former corrupt directors, and we've now instructed the sheriff to take some of Brian Malefe's assets to finally pay his court costs that he still needs to pay us. So this is just one more step in that we've seen the tax money being wasted long enough. We're now going over into action and saying, this is enough. South African taxpayer cannot take more of this.
Connie Mulder, interesting times indeed. We shall see where this goes and ends. That's the activism, the tax activism
yes.
that you're trying to encourage people to be part of. He is with Trade Union Solidarity.